Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. I thought today we would make something a little generic, that way you could customize it and build off of it. I've got some ideas for things that will be coming up very soon using the same concept, but taking something that it's a basic shape and then just building on it, adding details to it, putting layers on it, gives it some interest, and you don't have to necessarily stick to a design that I've come up with, but you can definitely work off of it. And a lot of you have been doing that with the Mimpos that I made, and I wanted to make a full mask with a free template that you can download and you can kind of just build off of it. So today we're going to make a generic, relatively cool, maybe, full face shield armor thing. Let's get to building. Start by downloading the free template in the description of the video. They're always free. Spread the creativity and share my builds with your friends. Trace the template onto your materials. I'm using 6mm EVA for this build. Parts marked with an R mean that that's the right side of the mask, and since it's symmetrical, to get the left half, you simply have to flip it label side down and trace again. Read the cover page of the templates for the cutting instructions. It will explain markings on the template pieces. I did heat form the forehead and mouthpieces to round them just a little bit. All you have to do is push the heated foam onto a round surface. I used the glass cover from my back porch light to do this. If you're going to do foam work, buy a heat gun. They definitely come in handy. A blow dryer doesn't get hot enough. This one is a little bit fancy, but you could pick cheap ones up at Walmart or Harbor Freight for under $20. I slowed down my glue up a little more than normal to help hopefully see the assembly better. It's really not a lot of pieces for this base. I start by adding a layer of contact cement to all the edges. Let it sit for a few minutes, then start tacking pieces together. I usually close my darts up first, then using the registration marks, I line the pieces up flush with the outside. Looking at the upper and lower sections assembled separately, this template could probably look great as just a top half or a bottom also, so potential future build? The base build is done. This is where you could deviate from my build and add details to make it your own. I went with a relatively simple route and just added some overlay panels. I have included them in the template if you want to go the route that I did. Round over the forehead plate to fit the curve of the forehead base. Mark off where it'll lay on it and then glue up both pieces. Once they have set up, then tack them together. To add recessed rivet details, I pull the sanding drum off a little bit, then plunge it into the foam. No real rhyme or reason to where or how many, I just go for it. You may notice the grid I drew on my mouth. I took my wood burner and plunged it into the foam to make little vent holes. This was just to help me try and keep them relatively even. I also dotted the inside of my rivets with the wood burner. Make sure to wear a respirator and work in a well ventilated area while doing this because the fumes are not good to breathe in. I hit it with 2 coats of Plasti Dip. Next, I lightly misted it with some silver spray paint. Then I marked off the base with painter's tape and hit my overlays with a few shades of green. After my spray paint layer, I took some Plat Effects acrylic paint and hand painted on the slats on my mouth just to give it a little more color variation and make it stand out a bit more. And of course, in much props fashion, I have to go over the whole thing with some brown and black acrylic in the cracks and crevices to dirty it up a bit. You just push the paint in and then wipe off the excess with a paper towel. Sometimes I wet it down and do washes, other times I pile it on a little heavier. I also hit the edges with a little bit of silver once everything was done to simulate some scratches on the metal to simulate battle damage. The last step is strapping. I use some 1-inch elastic banding, a couple of pieces of 2mm EVA foam, and some super glue. The elastic gets sandwiched between the mask and the scrap foam to secure it into place. To figure out the length of the elastic, hold the mask on your face and get a general idea of where the mask lays. Then stretch the elastic around your head to that point, cut off your pieces, and glue them into place. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I think it turned out pretty cool. Not too difficult of a build, really only a few pieces to make up the base, and then just adding random layers to it to give it some interest. Pretty simple, definitely something that a beginner could tackle, and something that you could easily customize with, like, say, a superhero's logo, or putting different overlays on it to make it your own. So maybe you will try and make one of these masks yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to make something original while using somebody else's template and making sure to share their name when you post it on social media. It really does. Maybe you'll get some.
Yay!
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these. Tell them, much props. Keep in mind, these templates are made to fit my big head, so peace out.